Hey guys, in this video I compare my results from several different estimated VO2 max tests, including the Cooper test, Queen's College step test, and estimates from 5 different wearables to determine which gives the closest approximation to the gold standard lab test with a mask. As a reminder, VO2 max is the maximum volume of oxygen your body can utilize, often reported relative to body weight, and it's a good measure of cardiovascular fitness. Graphs like this show just how dramatic the difference can be between individuals, with a very fit 70-year-old capable of having a higher VO2 max than a very unfit 20-year-old. The gold standard for measuring VO2 max involves wearing a face mask to capture your true oxygen consumption, but there are many different tests that provide an estimate of your VO2 max. One of the most accessible methods for estimating your VO2 max is one that doesn't require any exercise at all. However, as you can imagine, you lose out on accuracy at the expense of convenience, with research showing that non-exercise predictions typically have a range of plus or minus 9 milliliters per kilo per minute. The technician who conducted my lab test said that as a general rule, an estimate within plus or minus 2 of the true value is great, while plus or minus 5 would be acceptable. The most common estimation is done with the Jackson non-exercise test using metrics like height, weight, and body fat percentage alongside a physical activity rating. There are online calculators which will let you do this, and putting in my own numbers gave me estimates of 49.4 and 50.3. The second non-exercise method is based on resting heart rate and can be done at home. It's a simple formula that requires your age in order to calculate your maximum heart rate and your resting heart rate. I like to measure resting heart rate having been seated for 5 minutes, but you could also use wearable data. And in this case, it gave me a VO2 max of 53.1. The next tests require some level of exercise, but you don't need to push yourself to the limit, and I've called these submaximal tests. There are 3 popular ones in this category, starting with the Rockport walk test. This involves walking 1 mile and recording both the time taken and your heartbeats in the 15 seconds immediately after you finish, and this gave me a VO2 max of 51. Alternatively, from the comfort of your home, you can do the Queen's College step test, which requires stepping up and down for 3 minutes on a 16.25-inch platform, and again, recording your heartbeats for 15 seconds after you finish. This gave me a much higher estimate of 59.3. Finally, if you have access to an exercise bike, the Åstrand-Ryhming cycle test involves pedaling for 6 minutes and recording your average power output in watts and your heart rate in the final minute of the test. This was my highest estimated result at 60.8. I've put VO2 max estimates from wearable devices as a separate category. While you will have potentially reached maximal effort during some of your exercise sessions, it's not a requirement, and several of them claim to be able to estimate VO2 max from walking alone. One of them which does this explicitly is the Oura Ring. They have a 6-minute walking test, which is exactly as it sounds, and I tested this at the same time as the 1-mile walk, producing an estimate of 52. I happen to be reviewing wearables for a separate video, so I also have estimates from Garmin, Whoop, RingConn, and Ultrahuman. Garmin has reported my VO2 max at 52. Whoop is more generous, 56, rising to 57 across the month of May, and both RingConn and Ultrahuman have me at 50. The last one in this category is the Polar fitness test, which I do with my Polar H10 chest strap. While wearing the chest strap, you simply lie down and remain still for 4 minutes, and it gives you an estimated VO2 max. The final category is your maximal tests. These are 100% effort, and in some cases not suitable if you have existing heart conditions, injuries, or other health concerns. The first one might be familiar to anyone who had to do it in gym class. It is the multi-stage fitness test, also known as the Bleep Test or Beep Test. This is a 20-meter shuttle run with the pace progressively getting faster until you can't keep up. The result is a level and shuttle achieved, which you enter to get your estimated VO2 max. In my case, I reached level 11 shuttle 6 for an estimated VO2 max of 52. The second is the Cooper test or 12-minute run, and as the name suggests, you need to run for 12 minutes. Pacing does become relevant, but the goal is to run as far as you can in those 12 minutes, and I dragged myself to just over 3,000 meters for an estimated VO2 max of 55.8. I did not enjoy this one.
Oh, fucking God.
The last one in this category is the gold standard lab test. You can choose the treadmill or exercise bike based on personal preference, and because I'm a sprinter, I was happier on the treadmill. The exact protocol I followed was 3 minutes walking, 3 minutes running, then an additional 1% incline every minute until I couldn't continue. This was nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be, and my expectation was that I'd be somewhere in the middle of my other results, perhaps 56 or 57. However, I was pleasantly surprised that what's considered to be the most accurate test was also my highest result at 62.6 milliliters per kilo per minute. So this is what my full set of results look like. As you can see, the ranges here go from 49.4 right up to 62.6. And based on reference values for my age, my lab test would put me firmly in the very fit category. So which estimated test is best at predicting VO2 max? If we take the rule of thumb from earlier, where within 2 units of the true value would be considered great, and within 5 units is acceptable, then from all of these tests, I'm only left with 3. While these 3 will not necessarily be the most accurate for everyone else, there are a few considerations that mean these tests shouldn't all be weighted equally. For fitter individuals, certain tests just don't give you the opportunity to demonstrate your higher VO2 max. This would include the 2 walking tests and the Jackson non-exercise test, where I literally can't enter a BMI or body fat percentage that would give me a score higher than 54 for my age. If you have a high fitness level, you're better off with the more demanding tests like the Queen's College Step Test and the Cooper Test, where you can really showcase your ability. If you aren't much of a runner, there are other estimated tests available based on your 2-kilometer rowing time or 5 minutes maximal effort on an exercise bike. While the wearables were generally poor, as a sprinter, I never do steady state cardio, so the only sessions they can judge me on have been tempo runs. These are 100 to 300 meter repeats with jogging and walking between reps. If you are older or less fit, the exercise demands of the test become more of an issue, and you may be more suited to the lower intensity tests. Ultimately, what's important is that a test accurately captures changes to your VO2 max. I'm not really bothered if the Bleep test gives me a score of 52, as long as improvements to my fitness would result in a higher score, which intuitively I think it would. Finally, remember that VO2 max is very much a trainable quality, and you can move up or down the categories depending on changes to your activity level. Many studies show a link between lower VO2 max and increased risk of mortality, and the American Heart Association has gone as far as calling for it to be a standard measurement for assessing someone's heart health. If you wish to see any of these tests in more detail, I have a playlist of fitness test tutorials on my channel, most of which I do every year as part of an annual testing series. Thanks for watching.